we were told that he used to eat delicious things like duck and chicken,
right,
but now it's downgraded to some potatoes. Not a very appetizing meal that he had last night. And by the way, if you've heard of MDC Brooklyn, this detention center, it's probably because R. Kelly has stayed there, Fetty Wap has stayed there, Michael Cohen, Allison Mack, and Ghislaine Maxwell. A lot of famous people have gone here before. Really, really rough.
Leaked reports suggest that CNN aired footage from Diddy's prison cell following his arrest, igniting a media frenzy. The footage depicted the music mogul in a Brooklyn detention center as he awaited trial.
Sean Diddy Combs remains behind bars tonight after losing an appeal of a ruling denying him bail. The music mogul now awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges that carry a sentence of up to life, possibly life.
Former mobster Ori SPO shared his insights on what prison life might entail for Diddy Spedo. Drawing from his own experiences in the criminal underworld, he emphasized that Brooklyn jails are notoriously tough environments for inmates.
She is worse than it was then, all right? But let me tell you about Essex County. Essex County. My friend says it's the worst in New Jersey. It's a very serious jail. People get beat up left and right. The Bloods and Muslims control everything there. He will be in PC or he's going to have to pay. Now let me tell you, a guy like Diddy with money, they put him in general population, he's going to be paying a lot of people. A lot of families are going to be very...
However, he speculated that Diddy's wealth and influence might afford him certain privileges that other inmates lack. Have you considered how money can alter the prison experience for the rich and famous?
Said it was the worst spot, constant lockdowns, and the food was beyond disgusting. Now, he said it was beyond disgusting there. He's saying that it was great at MDC when we were first there, and it was disgusting. All right? But he said it might be better for him because MDC is really fucked up now, and the MS-13 are controlling. From what I hear, MS-13 is now controlling MDC. These are folks, this is information that came from somebody who just got released and knows these prisons. So I don't know why this attorney wants to get him transferred from MDC to Essex. It's like from worse to worse. But anyways, that's...
Multiple reports indicate that Diddy's bail request was denied, even with his legal team's significant $50 million offer.
Mogul Sean Diddy Combs back behind bars, a magistrate judge denying him bail, saying that there were no conditions that she could conceive of that would make her confident that he would appear again for other court appearances. The judge saying, "My concern is this is a crime that happens behind closed doors." Diddy's lawyers had argued that he had made good faith efforts by showing up in New York, ready to surrender to face these charges, but prosecutors said that he could not be trusted, that he has a history of trying to intimidate witnesses, including some who are going to be witnesses in this case. They urged the judge to remand him. She did, and when the judge did, Diddy, who was sitting at the defense table with his attorneys, did not show any signs of emotion. He took a sip of water before he was led out of the courtroom by the U.S. Marshals. Now, his lawyers have vowed to fight this. They are going to be back in court on Wednesday before the judge who will oversee this trial and try to get Diddy to be...
Diddy is currently being held in a Brooklyn detention center known for its severe condition.
Diddy Combs is locked up in a federal jail that has been plagued by harsh conditions and violence. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn has seen multiple deaths in recent years. An inmate was stabbed to death in July, and several others have died by suicide. It's these reasons, among others, that Combs' lawyers are fighting to get him out of there. They want him released on bail rather than being kept in jail while he awaits trial on sex trafficking charges. Combs is just the latest high-profile defendant to be locked up at MDC Brooklyn. Before him, there were R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell, and crypto scammer Sam Bankman-Fried. Maxwell complained about her treatment at the facility, which included round-the-clock checks in the wake of her associate Jeffrey Epstein's jail suicide. A few years ago, a week-long power outage in the dead of winter left detainees in drab, cold conditions. Judges have also raised alarms. They've pressed the Bureau of Prisons for status updates and implored the agency to fix things. One judge even refused to send some defendants to the jail. For now, Combs is one of about 1,200 people locked up at MDC Brooklyn. He's the highest profile detainee at a place that's been described as hell on earth.
During a press conference, the U.S. Attorney outlined specific details concerning the allegations that led to Diddy's arrest.
Alleged in the indictment to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks.
Legal experts are now speculating that Diddy could face up to a year in prison if convicted. Some believe he might leverage his legal team's resources to minimize this duration, while others contend that the seriousness of the charges could lead to a more extended sentence.
No deal that the U.S. Attorney's Office can offer, and it's certainly not one that Diddy will accept. It would involve decades in federal prison. We're talking about mandatory minimum sentences of 10 years for both the drug charges and the sex trafficking. So we know that Diddy has fought charges before. There were state charges, there were gun-related, the nightclub shooting with J-Lo, but he's going to dig in his heels, and this case is going to trial. So if you're prosecutors, you really want to make sure that your evidence is bulletproof before you go.
According to Diddy's attorney, the music mogul traveled to New York with the intention of surrendering, fully aware of the impending legal charges and prepared to cooperate.
Prosecutors were arguing is not only does your client pose a flight risk, because obviously he's incredibly wealthy, has access to planes and a lot of staff, even though you said he turned over his passport to you months ago. They were also worried about him being able to interfere with witnesses and calling them. And so I guess the question is, how do you assure the court that that won't happen if prosecutors are saying this is someone who's attempted to bribe security staff and has already threatened and interfered with witnesses?
So I think the most important thing, even more important than the passport, is that Mr. Combs came to New York on September 5th. As soon as we realized that this indictment was going to be coming down in a matter of weeks, maybe months, but sometime soon, Mr. Combs got on a plane, left his home in Florida, flew to New York. I called the prosecutors myself. I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is, but he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender. They didn't want him to surrender, because if he surrenders, they don't get to tell the judge that he's a flight risk and he's a danger. Because who, as a danger and a flight risk, would fly to New York and surrender? So they didn't want him to surrender.
So since September 5th, you had known, you expected it was likely he was going to formally face charges.
So I really knew he was formally going to face charges on March 25th, the day of the searches. When Homeland Security searched his Los Angeles home, his Miami home, and his airplane, I knew that day by looking at the search warrants. I mean, I've been doing this for a while. This is not my first or 100th rodeo, that this was going to come as a matter of time. What I realized in early September is that it was coming soon. And so it was time for Mr. Combs to come to New York, which he did. And let me just point out one very important thing. The prosecutors are seizing on something that happened 8 years ago. You know, this video that we've all seen, and it's a bad video for Mr. Combs, and he said so himself when he gave his apology. This is 8 years ago, and the prosecutors are talking about him bribing a hotel security worker. There was no criminal investigation. This was just a matter of personal embarrassment because he and the person in the video were in the midst of a 10-year relationship that was difficult at times, that was toxic at times, but it was mutually so. And this whole notion that Mr. Combs is forcing drugs on someone is just nonsensical, and it's going to prove to not be true.
Well, on that video, he initially denied the allegations when his then girlfriend, who is in that video, filed a lawsuit last fall. And we have that video. I should note, CNN was the first outlet to exclusively report on it. He denied that happened when she filed it in a complaint. And then when the video came out is when he apologized for it.
So I wasn't his lawyer back then, so I don't, and I don't think he denied. I mean, I think the lawyers were the ones mostly making the denials. I think they were denying sex crimes. I mean, because at the end of the day, the gravamen of that civil complaint wasn't a misdemeanor assault, which is what you see on that video. Not minimizing it, but it's a misdemeanor assault. What the gravamen of the complaint was sex crimes, and he denied that.
In a surprising development, FBI investigators reportedly found 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant during a search of Diddy's home. What do you think the significance of this discovery might be?
Weapons during raids, revealing disturbing details about Diddy's alleged abuse. They found, apparently they said, what did they find? The amount of stuff they found on the place, which was ridiculous.
100 bottles of baby oil.
50 Cent trolls Diddy and his 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil found in a federal raid. He took a shot at Diddy after his longtime rival was arrested on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. He says the In the Club rapper 49 posted a picture on Instagram from his appearance on the Drew Barrymore show and made a crack about $1,000 bottles of lubricant and baby oil that were seized by Homeland Security at Combs' home back in March. Here I am looking good company with the Drew Barrymore 50 Cent caption alongside a snap of himself on Drew Barrymore 49. So what do you think about all this stuff, Vinny?
Well, first of all, I mean, dude, it was only a matter of time. How much stuff do we have to see from the past? And I hate when Tom, what's it called? The statute of limitation, when the time...
statute of limitations on certain crimes. Yeah. Once it expires, you cannot be prosecuted.
We saw, besides all the dirty, freaky stuff that we heard, which whatever, he's a freak. We've heard about the rumors from the hip-hop world. But the video of him grabbing that girl, dragging her, beating the hell out of her, and nothing happened to him.
Hotel video.
The hotel video. Wow. So the sex rooms in his mansion...
Cassie, who was his longtime girlfriend.
Yeah. Home claimed that the mogul had rooms that were clearly just dedicated, rooms, plural, for sex. And he said, so if you were in these sex parties, you were being recorded from every possible angle, including angles that you wouldn't even know about because they were hidden. And he said days long, they called them freak-offs, where he drugged up victims and they were allegedly forced to sleep with male prostitutes. I sent you this video. I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen these videos that are just surfacing from Diddy. This is Diddy of him at a party and what he does.
Diddy's notorious freak-off parties have emerged as a central focus of the investigation.
Certainly sounds more like a mob, outfit, that it existed mainly to fuel his desires, often his sexual desires. And they lay out in detail a lot of those sexual desires in this indictment.
So one of the centerpieces, and we've talked about this before, are these freak-off parties that Diddy hosted. And, you know, we all knew...
That's the allegation, and remember, Cassie that first came to light in Cassie's lawsuit, where she talked about these freak-off parties that he would have at hotels she said, in Atlanta, Miami, LA, and New York.
And they were essentially orgies. But the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, who filed this, laid this out at a press conference and specifically addressed the freak-offs. To participate in these freak-offs and essentially victimize, I mean, that's the way they're putting it, some of the women who were pressured to be part of this.
Yeah, the feds are alleging, Harvey, a full-scale criminal enterprise here. They say that Diddy was conspiring with many people, mostly his employees, to engage not just in drawing people out across state lines for the purpose of prostitution, forcible coercion of sexual acts, forced drugging and raping of women, guns, all sorts of crimes, and
drugs,
it's all part of a criminal.
Drugs.
You heard
Damian
quantities of
Williams,
drugs.
the U.S. Attorney, talk about these.
GHB, oxy, ketamine, which he mentioned, cocaine,
huge quantities of
MDMA.
drugs.
I mean, just really, Charles, this 14 pages is
packed a lot in those 14.
Despite his team's $50 million bail offer, the court denied Diddy's release.
Yesterday, his team had offered a $50 million package to get Diddy, to ensure Diddy's release. The judge did not bite. Instead, the judge had made a statement in the court hearing. This is in federal court. Obviously, you guys know he was arrested the night before. So he appeared in federal court, and the judge had made an announcement basically saying to his family, "Thank you for coming, but I cannot release Diddy at this time." And the U.S. attorney had argued that he was a flight risk and also a danger to society. Seems like the judge sided with them. So he is currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn.
They say it's almost essentially backed up by video. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for the judge to not accept this $50 million package where they are like, all his family members are here, everything is here, we promise he's not going to leave, and for the judge to be like, no, this guy is that big of a menace to society that he needs to be held behind bars, it is not boding well for his future. Judges don't do this without like strong evidence that he is absolutely potentially guilty of this. So
and Diddy's attorney fiercely argued in court that he is innocent. He's like, look, he's not a perfect person, but he is not a criminal. So his attorney is just saying, like, you guys are locking up the wrong person here. But if you read the indictment pages, the court documents, oh my goodness, some of the allegations in there were just wild, all about these sex parties that he would have, freak-offs, and what was going on. They alleged that Diddy would have these basically like professional performances where they would have to give all people that were...
Minimize Diddy's time behind bars, his legal team is advocating for a swift trial. Their aim is to streamline the legal process and reduce the duration of Diddy's stay in the challenging conditions of Brooklyn's jail.
To Judge Carter, it did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and I believe inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility. And I'm going to do everything that I can to move his case as quickly as possible. I understand that the government has a great amount of electronic devices that they have to download and provide to me, but everything's on the government's timetable, nothing's on the defendant's timetable, and they're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushed.
Fox News has reported that more individuals are stepping forward to cooperate with federal investigators in Diddy's case. Will these witnesses alter the outcome of the trial?
Steve and Bianca, as U.S. Attorney Damian Williams promised earlier this week, he said this is an ongoing investigation and that they will be speaking to more people. We found out that these two individuals, and we have actually spoken to one of them. They are both sex workers, currently sex workers. One of them says that they had an interaction with Diddy in 2014. And they are willing to tell the feds what they know about that interaction. And another one said that they are willing, and not only willing, but have been subpoenaed to go before the grand jury. So the second person could end up going before the grand jury. At this stage, they are just going to be interviewed by prosecutors. Clearly, they're trying to figure out what these other witnesses know and how they can help them convict Diddy, and that's the name of the game at this point.
A former warden has publicly stated that Diddy's life could be at risk while he remains in custody.
Say his fame makes him a target Yes, in my humble estimation, his life, his safety is in jeopardy in any correctional lockup right now. If it is true, as reported, that he is housed in the special housing unit, it's important to note that the special housing unit is a lockdown, 24-hour lockdown unit. The MDC Brooklyn is a high-rise. The vast majority of the floors are general population floors. But the special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown facility. So this is for Mr. Combs' protection. His incredible worldwide celebrity combined with the allegations, the charges now, an indictment, of course, of acts of violence against women make him a very attractive target.
All right.
Obviously,